the early start today, and welcome to February's Redcar and Cleveland Business Network, and hope you had a great January. For those who don't know me, my name is Darren Winter. I'm the Company Director of Duke Digital, and together with Karen King, we're both volunteers who co-manage and lead the Redcar and Cleveland Business Network. Big thank you to the Redcar and Cleveland Borough Council, who they provide the room, the refreshments and underground car parking, and to Bead Financial, who sponsor the website and sponsor it for 7 years. So thank you very much to Bead Financial. So all these events are recorded and will be available to watch again on YouTube and on social media later on. There is no fire alarm evacuation plan, so if you hear the fire alarm, it's a real one. If it does sound, please follow the green running man out and just down the stairs, and just across the stairs if you need the toilets, and that's where you'll find those. Today's agenda, usually we would ask everybody to do like a 15-second elevator pitch to introduce their business, but because there's so many people today, we've got a lot to get through. We're just going to provide an opportunity for people to talk about a special event or an offer or something they just want to shout about their business. So we'll cover those, have a think about that. I'll come back to you in about 60 seconds. If you've got something to say, let us know. So our guest speakers this month, it's all about Tour de Yorkshire, and we have Laura Case, who is the Head of Culture and Tourism at Redcar and Cleveland Borough Council, and we have David Shields. David? Sorry, there, I missed you there. So I'm looking everywhere. So David Shields, who's the Area Director for Welcome to Yorkshire. So they're going to be talking all about Tour de Yorkshire, and showcasing some of the opportunities for businesses to get involved. There's some videos. There'll also be a time for questions as well, so if you've got any questions that you'd like to ask, please keep hold of them, and they'll be only too happy to ask them at the end. Okay, so has anybody got any announcements that they'd like to make? Any? Wow, hands up in the air, love it. Okay, let's go to David Mays.
Morning everyone. Just so you know, if you're interested and you don't know how to make pastry, we're actually doing a course of 6 lessons of making pastry as from, hang on, the 13th is the first one. It's at 6 o'clock in the evening. I hope you finish work. So come and join us if you want a bit of fun. You do need to sign up. There's limited numbers because obviously I can't have a whole room full of people making pastry, but feel free to give us a buzz.
And database on this seafront, just opposite the beacons. If you don't know where they are, that's where you'll find them. So amazing selection of teas and coffees made. Jackie.
Good morning. I've got 2 workshops coming up. One on the 19th of February, where I'm collaborating with a comedy writer. So it'll be a comedy writing workshop followed by a presentations workshop. And then on the 27th of February, I've got a pitch perfect presentation skills performance workshop for anybody who wants to look at public speaking or making pitches or anything like that. So I'd love to see some people. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
Enterprise Made Simple, we do a Gone for Growth training weekend. I thought because of this being Tour de Yorkshire, it'll give people an opportunity to think of new products or services that might do for the race, as well as perfect the social media as well, to make the most of the event. So it's great growth. We've got one on the 6th of March, and then we've got some non-residentials as well at Ackham Hall for people to attend if they want to. So I've got a couple of business cards, or you can find us on the website enterprisemadesimple.co.uk. Cheers.
Fabulous. Anybody else? Okay.
Hello. On the 14th of February, so on Valentine's Day, over at Coton Memorial Hall, we've got a Valentine Ball, and the tickets are £7, and it's all 1940s music. So tickets are on Eventbrite, or come and see me after.
Charm Productions. Anybody else? One more? Great.
My name's Mark Cole. I work for a company called Align Property Partners, so any building that wants refurbing, particularly local authority, business sector, small businesses, we can take it right through planning and delivery. But the thing is, every year we run an apprenticeship programme. So just want people to go to local colleges or universities, depending on what age group they are, but basically from sort of 16 onwards. So if anybody's got any children or people, friends that maybe children want to go into engineering or some kind of thing, we run an apprenticeship programme. So I'll leave some cards, but if you want to get in touch with me, it's just www.alignpropertypartners.co.uk. partners, all one word, .co.uk.
Fabulous. And it's National Apprenticeship Week as well this week, so that's a timely
just to let you know that we've got some business space, £114 per calendar month plus VAT. Perfect pods at the Palace Hub.
Fabulous. Anybody else? Okay, fabulous. I'm going to hand over to Laura Case, Head of Culture and Tourism at the Council.
Hi, I'm Laura Case. I'm Head of Culture and Tourism at Redcar Cleveland Borough Council. I'm relatively new, but I am delighted to be here today to introduce David Shields to talk about the fact that we are a horse town. My first entry point, because it's become a bit of a joke, was on Tour de France Grand Depart, so I keep forgetting that it's Tour de Yorkshire and keep saying Tour de France, so apologies if that happens. The opportunity today is just to tell you a bit more about how businesses can get involved. We didn't want it to be death by PowerPoint, so David has brought along a few films. We wanted a chance for you to be able to ask us questions. We've got a lot of work to do, so it's a good chance to be able to inform that and have conversations with us. So please do think about questions along the way and ask us them. If you can't think of anything today, please get in touch with our team. We have an email address. I'm gonna put it out there just so I don't forget, which is tourdeyorkshire@redcar-cleveland.gov.uk. But it's my great pleasure to introduce David Shields, Area Director for North Yorkshire for Welcome to Yorkshire.
Thanks, Laura. Really today is just to spend a few time to really enthuse you guys this event coming to Redcar, and just sort of show you a couple of films of last year, where the routes are going, and then just talk through some of the things where you can get involved. And I was just saying to Laura before we started, you might be a cafe, you might be a bed and breakfast, you might be accommodation, somebody that'll benefit a cycle hire shop. But the other thing to remember in the business world, you might be selling widgets to somebody in Belgium. Belgium is the biggest cycling country in the world, they're nuts. So whatever your business is and whoever you're dealing with, tell them that this race is coming to Redcar. You know, it's just that to get the message out. So before we sort of just very briefly run through a few things, I think somewhere we can show you a film of last year's tour, so it just gives you a bit of an idea of the atmosphere and everything around it.
Peloton underway. Still welcoming the Tour de Yorkshire. The race is on, and this is the first really big attack. The breakaway has happened. A couple of riders have hit the deck. Jacob Hennessy with an explosive sprint. Oh, a big crash there. Huge crowd here in Beverley, and some of the best fish and chips you'll ever taste. Jacob Hennessy is going to take this King of the Mountains jersey. For the race finish. Here comes the sprint. Asselman holds on to take the victory from the breakaway. What's on the agenda today? Taking the riders from Barnsley to Bedown, 132 kilometres of racing. First attack of the day.
Everyone's come out, you can see all the school children, and I actually don't think anywhere else around the world you get this.
Great sprint by Suzanne Anderson.
Time to perfection.
Lizzie Banks is trying to go now for the points and secure this Queen of the Mountains jersey. Insignificant on the finish line of the World Road Race Championships course as we make our way into Ripon to our massive crowd here. Lorena Weavers is going for the sprint. It's a superb sprint. Lorena Weavers takes it. The thrilling victory. This afternoon we bring you the men's second stage of the Tour de Yorkshire. riders on, having a little bit of a party. He made short work of that, James Bush, King of the Mountain. And now the sprint's going to start, and it is Jacob Scott who takes it this time, Ripley Castle. From the 14th century, there is a massive, massive crowd. It's going to be a big sprint here from Rick Zabel. Zabel of Katusha Alpecin. What a sprint! Stage 2 of the Asda Women's Tour de Yorkshire. So we're going to ride out of Bridlington to Scarborough. Did the first attack come from the big teams?
This is where the excitement starts.
Oh, big crash at the front. Lizzie Banks is just going to ride away. Superbly strong in this race so far. Over the top for Garcia. She takes the Queen of the Mountains points. When you see Marianne Vos racing like this, it's so impressive. Heading in towards Scarborough, that's on the horizon. Whoever wins this sprint is going to win the Tour de Yorkshire. Marianne Vos wins it. Vos wins the stage and wins the Tour de Yorkshire with a great performance today. At the start of stage number 3. Immediate attacks at the front. And we're on to the Côte de Silfo. Rob Scott's going to take the summit of the climb. Whitby Abbey. Suddenly a big group of riders going clear. The speed is absolutely furious now. Down towards Scarborough now. Who's going to take the win on the line? Oh, it's a photograph, but Alexander Camper, I think, has taken it. A very warm welcome to the final day of the Tour de Yorkshire. We're going to start today in Halifax and take the riders to Leeds. Look at the number of people who are in this town. Incredible how many fans have come out to watch these riders. It's very, very special. You don't really sense it anywhere else in the world. The King of the Mountains is one of the hardest and most iconic climbs in Yorkshire. Some riders really almost at a standstill. Horte riding away. This is Tour de France style crowds. Chris Froome now goes on the attack on Otley Shevin. This race is still anyone's. Van Avermaet going for the victory. Lawless is on his wheel. Lawless and Van Avermaet going for the line. Van Avermaet takes the victory. He wins the stage. Chris Lawless wins the Tour de Yorkshire. A brilliant day for this young rider.
For those who maybe aren't involved with cycling, I hope that gave you a feel of what it's all about. It isn't just about the bike race, it's about the communities and how businesses can get involved. And I'm sure that the sun will shine in Redcar on the 30th of April. But, as I say, very briefly, the Tour de Yorkshire is a legacy from when the Grand Depart of the Tour de France came in 2014. It's put on by a company called the Amaury Sports Organisation based in Paris. They put on most of the major cycle races in the world, other sporting events. So they're the partner with us that brings the race, but the other big partner in all of this is Redcar and Cleveland Council, because they've had the foresight to bring this event to your town, and it will put Redcar on the international map. And just as this is just some figures around last year's race, I won't go through them all, but I think the main things are 1.9 million spectators over the 4 days stood by the side of the road to watch the race when it came through Yorkshire. The number of countries it's been live to and have the highlights of the race. Nearly 190 countries across the world see this race. So that's, Broughton, Loftus, Mask, Saltburn, Redcar will be shown to a global audience. And a lot of people who watch these races and watch these big sporting events, it isn't just about the cycling, they watch the area that it goes through. And what we do is produce, along with the colleagues, Laura and Leslie at Redcar and Cleveland, we produce what's called the Yellow Book. And that is the script of the race that tells everybody what's happening, what's going on, landmarks, and that's given to every TV company that covers the race. It's live on ITV all 4 days, all the races, but Eurosport, it's been in America, across Europe. So that's one of the main things to look at. And the other thing, just to touch on this one, is the sort of the digital reach of the Tour de Yorkshire. If those who know cycling, there's 3 grand parts. There's Tour de France, the Spanish and the Italian races are the 3 big races, cycle race. Tour de Yorkshire is now number 4 in the world on all that sort of traffic around social media. So it's a great opportunity to showcase what's happening. But you're the businesses, you're the people in Redcar and Cleveland, what's it all about really for you and how can you really benefit from it? And there's a number of angles that you can go. There's the community angle. You saw from that race film there, the land art, how the kids get involved, how the communities get involved. So it's great to bring communities together, make people really, there was a story once, probably one of the first or second Tour de Yorkshire, there was somewhere near Halifax it was coming through, where previously the town council didn't speak to the Operatic Society and the cricket club was over there doing their own thing. But because this race came through, everybody got together really to showcase and promote the race. And there's that sort of really good community spirit that comes out of it. So there's the land art. There's also competitions for, best dressed town, best host town. So you can really get Redcar on the map. And that's what I'm saying about the opportunities. Maybe your business isn't directly involved. You aren't going to get people on the day coming in buying cups of coffee because that isn't your business. But it's this promotion and publicity, and you'll get running up to the event and then post the event. It isn't just about the Thursday it comes through on the 30th of April. It's that legacy effect of people coming back, thinking about this part of the world, even thinking about investing, bringing their business. I saw Redcar on the television, that looks a great spot, etc. So that's what it's all about with regard there. So, businesses, if you're a cafe, if you're a restaurant, yes, you can put bike stencils on your cappuccinos, you can put themed menus, you can do things because you are a finish on the 30th. People will be in the town from early on that day. They will be finding where they want to stand, where they want to watch the race from. So embrace them coming into the town. And as I say, some of them will have never been here before. And what you want as a town and as a business community is them coming back. So, some words of caution. Don't think of bumping your prices up if you're a front-facing business, because you want them to come back. Give them that really good welcome, do the quirky things, do the bunting with the yellow and blue, put the bikes out, etc. And as you say, some towns where the race has been before still get involved. So you've got that side of it. The other big thing, and we'll talk briefly again about businesses, because I think really it's an opportunity for myself and Laura to take questions from you this morning, because some things we know yet, and one or two things we don't know yet about the timings, because that all revolves around the TV coverage. But schools, if you're working with young children, we do a really good education pack, And a big thing this year from both our side, and I know from Redcar and Cleveland, is the whole thing about sustainability, recycling, etc. So there's going to be a big push around this year's race. We're actually working with schools on a competition over that, and BIFA, most of you have heard of BIFA, they're involved with the race, and whichever school wins that competition all about recycling and posters, that'll be on all the BIFA wagons going round when the four days of the race. So that's a great opportunity for the kids to get involved, etc. We talked about best dress, we talked about land art. Yeah, there are some do's and don'ts around the race if you're a business. As I said, the Amory Sports Organisation that put the race on, they own it. They created the race in the World Cycling Calendar. And you don't, as a spectator, you don't have to pay a ticket to watch the top cyclists in the world. You can just stand by the side of the road. So the Amory Sports, they make their money, as I say, commercial organisation, out of the companies they work with, the big sponsorships, so Skoda, Vital, etc. And there are some opportunities within the race for companies to get involved. Last year, like LNER, P&O Ferries, and they pay 5-figure sums to be part of that sponsorship. So the actual Tour de Yorkshire logo is part of in the ownership of the ASO. So that you can't actually use the Tour de Yorkshire logo and how you actually talk about the tour. If you're just putting copy up on the website, things like, it's great in Redcar that the Tour de Yorkshire's come in on the 30th of April, yeah, that's all right. But we had an example one year when a small carpet shop in Pateley Bridge, which was very entrepreneurial of them, sent a letter out using the logo, near enough saying they were the official carpet sponsors of the Tour de Yorkshire, and if people were coming to stay, they needed new carpets, in their holiday cottages. What we do have is a very short document called the Do's and Don'ts. What we can do is the links, etc., that Laura and Leslie have, and we have the Tour Yorkshire website. A lot of what I'm talking about this morning is actually up on the website. So, go there. If you have any questions and you think, oh, I want to do that, can I say that? Is that all right if we do that? Speak to Laura or Leslie, speak to myself, we can get that done. And I think the Amory Sports people are a little bit more receptive these days of how people promote the race. When we had the Grand Depart of the Tour de France, it was, people want to do this, Ripon want to do that, they want to use this. It was a no. They're legal people, no. But now they realise that you guys, from businesses, from the communities, the schools, you're helping promote the race for them. So they're a little bit more relaxed and we can talk through it with you. Conscious of time, so we can get a few questions in as well. So that's really, as I say, the thing about the do's and don'ts. The other opportunity is businesses working together. If you are an accommodation provider and people are staying, coming to watch the tour, you maybe know a local cycle hire shop so people can move around on bikes while they're here. Restaurants and accommodation providers can work together. We said people might be coming earlier, or with you being finished, they'll stay on a bit later if it's a fine night. So if you usually shut your business at 6 o'clock, if it's say a restaurant and a cafe, maybe you want to keep it open a bit longer, because the big thing is those people that are coming in, you want to make sure they have a great time and they'll come back again. Probably when Laura, and we take a few questions, there is always some disruption because roads have to be closed, infrastructure has to be set up. But I know when I was up here a couple of weeks ago with the guys from the Amory Sports Organisation, talking to the highways people here in Redcar and Cleveland, that will be kept to a minimum. Where the finish is, just as you're coming along from Mask, it will be kept to a minimum, but there will be areas that will have to be closed all day, just for safety, for spectators coming in, people being able to move around. So and that information between ourselves and Redcar and Cleveland, we'll get it to you as soon as possible. Just thinking, nearly 8:15, what I'll do, we'll just show you a quick film of the 4 routes. So the 4 days this year, from the 30th of April, the first day. And one of the things I would say is, the first day, although it's a weekday, is a great day to have the race, because the media and the TV coverage is always biggest with regard to local news, not just the coverage of the race on the first day. And as I said earlier about the Yellow Book and stories around the race, start thinking of that, because again, the media will start picking up what's happening in Redcar. Your business is doing something quirky, you're working with somebody, so always think of that media angle. So we'll just look at this year's race.
Yorkshire has a population of 5.3 million people. I think a large number of those will be out on the roads of Yorkshire over the next few days. Beautiful sea views. What about that? Looking out over Robin Hood's Bay now, not far to Hook's House Farm Climb. As we go past Whitby Abbey, now we're heading to Sands End. Amazing scenery as these riders now make their way onto the climb. You've done yourself proud once more. It's going to be a big sprint here. Zabel of Katusha Alpecin. What a sprint! Riders will be sent on their way. It's almost grand heroic, isn't it? As riders ride along, I think the world is just full of cheers. The leading group then reach the Côte de Limes. Into Queensborough now, as we head towards the Côte de Chicon Wall. This climb is one of the most leg-sapping 1 kilometres of riding you will ever do. Very fast down into Halifax. And we're in Brickhouse now.
The riders are racing in on this one.
Here goes the sprint. Marianne Voss wins it and wins the Tour de Yorkshire. Start today in Halifax and take the riders to Leeds. Look at the number of people who are in this town. Incredible how many fans have come out to watch these riders. Skipton Castle, one of the best preserved medieval castles in England.
The Yorkshire towns and villages really come out in force when the Tour de Yorkshire's on.
1 kilometre to go to the top of the Côte de Loft House. Huge number of people in Bailey Bridge as we go flying through it. Over the top of the climb, Cortain takes 4 points.
Doesn't stop going up now until we get to the summit of the Celtic Crown Path.
Heading towards Ollie. Into Leeds now. Lawless and Van Avermaet going for the line. Van Avermaet takes the victory. He wins the stage. Lawless wins the Tour de Yorkshire. What a thrilling finish.
So that's the 4 days of this year, and then of course all the filming that will take place in this part of the world for this year's race will then be on all these highlights, these films that then are shown next year, and you have that whole 12 months, you know, of not just about the race, you know, promoting Redcar forever and a day. Just a couple of things before we take questions, that we will be announcing very shortly the official charity for this year's Tour de Yorkshire. We always have an official charity that we work with. In the past we've had the Royal National Lifeboat, we've had Alzheimer's Society, so we'll be announcing that. We've got an official artist that's on board, that there'll be an official paintings relating to the tour. And just going back to the business and your businesses before we take questions, the other thing is, make sure your staff, if you have staff, they know about the race, because they'll be the ambassadors. They will be telling people, because there'll be a buzz hopefully about the place. People will be knowing the race is coming, so make sure that everybody knows. Lots of information on the tour website. There'll be information on the Redcar in Cleveland. You can sign up. We do a monthly newsletter now running up to the race that you can sign up to. And the actual leaflets, which will have all the timings on, will be available probably around March time. As I say, we were just talking earlier, the race probably will finish somewhere around sort of 4:35ish. ASO just have to sign everything off, as you can imagine, with the TV companies. And remember, in France, they're an hour different, so we have to get all this. And despite Brexit, we are working very closely with our French colleagues on this. So I think, hopefully, that's giving you a very brief insight into the race. Hopefully, you'll go away with thoughts and ideas, and I'm sure there'll be a lot more questions afterwards that you can get in touch with. But Laura, I'm more than happy for anybody to ask anything at this point.
Yeah, I think one of the things just to add is in the film you will have seen the sort of empty pictures of Saltburn and Redcar. Obviously next year they'll be full of people, which is really exciting. Just to add, the infrastructure-wise in Redcar, the finish is right near the sort of the Stray Zetland Park, so that area in Zetland Park will be developed into sort of a fan zone area. So although the race comes in at around 4:30, 5 o'clock, there'll be a large screen, so the race from Beverley right through will be screened. So although it enters our borough at Cowbar, I had to get that in. I was just mentioning also Easington, Carlin Howe, Broughton, Carlin Howe, just to make sure we name all of the places. So there'll be a good opportunity within the town, Redcar town, on that day when people will be here and arriving, like David said.
And I'm sure there's opportunity for some businesses to get involved in the fan zone.
Yeah. Should we open it up to questions? Silence.
Definitely. I don't know, is that good or bad?
Yeah.
How are we going to start engaging with the schools then? Who will I speak to?
So we've started that already, so you can talk to us. So David mentioned about the education pack.
It's in school now, is it? So I go to school today, they'll say...
The education pack itself has just come out. We've been doing lots of active work with schools around sports development, or the sporting teams. So one of the things that we didn't mention is within a 2-hour window-ish, at the finish, we'll be doing lots of various races with young people. We get to use the podium, so they get to sort of celebrate and be part of that. But we're doing lots of work around balance bikes, tours, all of that type of stuff. So all the sports development teams across the borough are working on that. We're also talking to various schools about how we roll out art competitions, about what the tour means to you. And then the education pack has lots of work. So that'll be going out in the next sort of week or so to all schools, and then we're trying to do visits along the way. The other thing to mention, which will also engage schools, because some of it will be direct contact with schools, is we're going to be running a number of roadshows within places. So some of them have been released already, and I'm going to have to remember. So Tuesday the 11th is in Broughton, 12th is in Loftus, 17th Redcar, and then yet to be announced, but the 20th is in Saltburn, and then we're going to confirm one for Mask, and they're all on the council website, and that'll be another chance for residents, businesses, schools to get involved.
And the thing that we said about that, the education pack, if you go on the Tour Yorkshire website, yeah, you can download it now, so that's on, but you know, as Laura said, the schools and getting the kids involved. And one of the things as well, if you're a school quite close to the route, and maybe they're going to think about doing some land art or something, let us all know sooner rather than later, because again, the guys from France, the Amory Sports guys, yeah, they're putting on the race, but their chief exec comes over, he loves to come and visit schools, see what the kids are doing and get involved. So, you know, the sooner you have something planned, let everybody know.
This morning, asking me to ask if I can find out what performance opportunities there are. She runs a creative dance studio. She wants to know what she can do to help, because she wants to create a flash mob on Tour de Yorkshire with full bikes and props.
Guess who that is?
Yeah.
And I already want to speak to her. Yes, yeah, she will be involved. So we're looking at the window. As David said, we're trying to work out what the timings are, especially where it comes to the road closures, because then it becomes a safe environment. So once we've got the layout, we can work out what's going in. So we've got lots of people that want to be part of it, and we want to hear from more. We will also programme things around the race to animate the race as well. So there'll be a mix of community and performances sort of brought in, walkabouts brought in.
And two things that probably didn't mention either, just to say, just that thing about the timing. Once we get the timings, they're near enough to the minute, depending. And the ASO produce timing, say, coming through Saltburn, they'll say it'll be at this time if the peloton and the race is travelling at X kilometres. So it'd be quite tight, as long as there isn't a big crash anywhere down the route. So the other things that I didn't mention is we also have a caravan that goes out 2 hours before the race. You know, if any of you watched Tour de France, it's a massive caravan where all the companies that sponsor and whatever are involved. Well, it's smaller than that, but I think there's probably like 20 vehicles in that, and it's quite sort of lots of colour, lots of lights. We don't throw things out because it's all to do with recycling and sustainability, so plastic things aren't thrown away. But that's part of, you know, people by the side of the road and engaging. So that'll probably be ahead of the race for 2 hours, and then it'll finish up in Redcar. And the other thing, and there will be announced that it will stop at various points on the route. So it'll probably stop in a couple of locations in the borough before it gets to Redcar. And the other one is we have what we call the ambassadors. And again, those of you who are more involved with cycling, that's top Yorkshire cyclists, past and present, people who have competed in the Tour de France. And again, they go out and they stop at various points to engage with the crowd. So it keeps all the atmosphere going for the race. And one thing I didn't mention that's also on the website, sorry Laura, but is tour makers. We have, you know, a bit like people who are actually there, not necessarily as stewards, but they can engage with the crowd, tell people what's happening, what the times are, point them where the toilets are. That's the best place to go and get a cup of tea, a cup of coffee. So there's information again on the website about tour makers. You do have to be 18 or over to be a tour maker, but if you know anybody that might be interested in that, information on the website.
Sorry, I'm not all talent town, and truthfully know very little about cycling, although I'm trying fast to learn.
Yeah.
I'm trying to work out how it will impact to be ready. Do you consider that people will come into town the day before, ready,
that
Yeah,
as well?
I think from, as I say, people are starting looking now. So I think you will get a certain amount of people that will be coming the day before because they want to get that best position, they want to really soak up the atmosphere. So some people, it will come the day before. You're quite right, a lot of people follow the race around. So some people, if they can, will have watched the start in Beverley, and if they can make it not on the way of the route, get into Redcar for the finish, and then, as you say quite rightly, then they'll move on to try and get to Skipton. You will get, once businesses, and we know who some of the sponsors are and whatever, because they'll be part of the fan zone and they'll be setting up. So say P&O Ferries or LNER are part of that sponsorship and they will be in the Redcar fan zone. They'll be looking for accommodation the night before. So it'll be a combination of people staying that are either wanting to get to watch the race or because of their business company are involved with the race, they'll be looking for somewhere to stay.
Yeah, you're right. That day before, I think, is a key one for us, so the Wednesday evening. I think some of it is also around the impact of the race. So we've been talking very much about the legacy. So the race is one thing, and that's really important. But we already know from feedback across villages already that cyclists are coming here now and trying out the route. As soon as it was announced, they're there cycling. You have the avid cyclists that will be checking out exactly where they're going to be, where they're going to stand in terms of the climb, whether they like a finish, what, you know, in terms of a sprint, it's a really good sprint finish. So it's also about how we ready ourselves for this next 3 months, of which it is leading up, and then also what's the legacy of that. So in terms of hotels, how we can be more welcoming to people with bikes. What do we do with them? What are their requirements? Is it different than the normal? So I think that I'm looking at Steph as well in my team there. We're thinking about how we do some of that engagement, but also that it doesn't just stop. That it isn't a 30th of April and that's it. It's a what does that mean? And similarly speaking to organisations like Welcome to Yorkshire as well about where they're going to talk about cycling, what that means for us as well.
I was going to ask if other plans to work with like the train companies and public transport to making sure that we've got more services running and better infrastructure to support the event, but also the aftermath as well.
Yeah, we're talking about that. I'm looking at Nick as well a little bit, but we're talking about it in terms of how we do that. I thought you were going to ask about sponsorship, and I was like, I default to that position, but yeah, in terms of traffic and travel, that's going to be a big thing around carriages, and we're already in conversations about how we need to look at that. Also on the day, in terms of, although it operates mainly on rolling road closures, the closure at the end, about what that means for people affected within that area and business, and what the diversions are around that. But yes, it's.
And I think the thing with that is it's not only about bringing people in to watch it, to move it around, it's to making sure that services to those people who might not even be interested in the bike race, the disruption is kept as low as possible, so your normal services are running as much as they can on the day.
Yeah, and actually picking up on a point Karen talked about, actually about the best places for people to get off. So if they're travelling by train and they really want to be in a particular spot or particular area where they need to get off, and so that we can do a bit of that advice really, the quickest and shortest, most accessible routes.
The other thing, the big thing about the race, just very quickly to mention, is the food and drink. We do a lot of promotion about, the food and drink, because people are coming here. We have what we call the Tour de Cuisine, where it promotes food and drink on the routes. And that's a great opportunity for any businesses in this part of the world to showcase local food and drink, especially in the fan zone. It worked really well the other year in Beedale. So there was sort of breweries, there was local food, there was Wensleydale cheese down there. So if you're a local food producer in the borough, the fan zone is a great opportunity to really promote your wares and product to the visitors.
Is the fan zone on the straight opposite? Is there anything going to be organised to tie the high street and the seafront into that?
So we're looking at how we do that. So one of the things we haven't mentioned are the team buses, which are actually a big spectacle in themselves. So although we haven't decided fully, because we need to work it out with ASO, where we park them, that's a way of being able to extend it into the high street. But how we dress the high street, how we promote it will be part of that thought process, because people are going to be there all day, maybe the night before. So yeah, that will certainly extend it down the seafront, and also look at how we potentially have sort of stalls and various things along the way. We just need to work that out. But yeah, in terms of getting people into the town centre is going to be key for us.
And that's
And the parking, is it, are you going to have designated parking? Are you going to use Majuba or the race cars or something like that?
Yet to be decided, but all options are looking at. I sort of don't want it to say now until we can give you accurate information, because obviously we need to work it out fully depending on what ASO needs for the race and where we need to put team buses and cars. But as soon as we've got that information, which I don't think should be too long, really.
I don't think we'll be using the race course because
Yeah, there is a race on, so we won't be using the race course, which is another thing. We're working with them around times, and obviously in terms of our traffic management plan about where people are coming in and out of the town, that's obviously being worked on. But yeah, it's all being thought about how we get people in, temporary car parking, all of that, where we might need to move certain things.
And when will that information be shared when we found it?
Once we know the full know the full times, so it's probably going to be quite a few weeks yet.
Probably, hopefully it's on March time. Like we said earlier, it's the negotiations ASO do with the television companies, and everything, once that is signed, sealed and delivered, and because it's on ITV, some days it depends on the scheduling, it may be on ITV4, sometimes they show a bit of it on ITV, so we'll get that information as soon as possible, and then it'll be on everybody's website shared with you. And just what Laura said about the team buses, going back to say this is a sport where people are really accessible to the stars, the big riders, so where the team buses is a spectacle in itself, and when the riders come and they don't just get in the bus, they're all on the bikes doing the cool down and whatever, so a lot of people, when they've seen everybody through the finish, will come and then see these top riders and whatever. So as you say, it's extending it so the whole seafront can be part of it.
Is the council going to do something with the likes of the railway station? I understand it's not owned by the council, but with all these visitors coming to Redcar and for businesses in the town, to get off a train at Redcar looks appalling.
So we're doing...
Something needs to be done.
So I know there's developments there, I can't go into them specifically, but in terms of dressing and where buildings need work, we're thinking about how we dress and create a good welcome. And I appreciate in terms of the size of that building, but it is in a thought process about how we do the welcome.
You get off the train, there's a derelict building, you walk on the corner, there's a derelict cinema, you walk past drug houses, and that's the way that all these thousands of people, if they don't drive, are going to come and see the first thing in Redcar.
I think we just have to create a welcome that we can within the time frame that we've got. Obviously there's bigger plans, but in terms of from now until the 30th, how we dress that space, how we create wayfinding, I think will be a key part of that. In terms of how we place people, being a welcome, I think that's a key part of it really, because we're not alone in that fact in terms of some of the other places that the race will go to. You know, things are being regenerated in various of the towns around the race. I think we've just got to create the best welcome we can and a vibrant space as much as possible. Yeah, there was, I think, the lady behind you first, and then you. Hi.
Yeah, hi, I'm from Bike Shop in Gisborough, and just wanted to know if there would be any opportunities for us to thank you. If there would be any opportunities for us to showcase our, you know, shop obviously, and where that would be. Are there going to be any stalls, areas, or anything like that?
So again, I feel like I'm making excuses, but until we get the final layout of the main infrastructure, then we can work out what's there. The challenge is that there'll be a lot of businesses that want to display their business. I think one of the most important things is how we make sure that people know from a bike shop point of view what's around and what business is around and how we signpost to other places. I think that's fair to say that other places where the route necessarily passes through, that just because it doesn't pass through your town or village doesn't mean that you can't be involved. So I think how we generally look at the vibrancy of, I suppose, cycling, for you specifically, in our borough is going to be key to that. And one of the things that we're talking about for this year is the year of sort of be part of it in terms of participation, and obviously cycling is a big part of that. So in terms of, there may be opportunities in terms of the extension of sort of stalls and things, but I think it's more about how we promote you as part of the overall offer in the borough.
And I think, you know, yeah, the finish is in Redcar, and there'll be other opportunities, because I'm sure in Saltburn there may be things doing, and if you think Saltburn is where they're going to come up the hill, so that'll be really, that's where a lot of the cycling fraternity, because they'll want to watch and whatever, so it's just keeping an eye on Laura and what Leslie are doing, so there might be opportunities in the other places where it's come that you can have a physical presence.
So we can take two more questions. So it's this lady and then that gentleman.
Just on the transport, is there any idea of putting on coaches from Darlington or Middlesbrough to get people to Redcar? Because that journey in those trains doesn't create the best impression either.
I think we need to work out and work with our other local authorities as well about interest. So we certainly have been looking from a school point of view, because there's been lots of interest about how we're getting them in on that day. But that's a fair point, and I think it can be part of our traffic management plan as well. I think there's already a lot of interest from other areas, but certainly in terms of train rides, that would address some of it, because we can think of it right across the route.
And I think
we can pick that up.
And the other thing is, although it's Redcar and Cleveland's event, and we said it's a partnership, I know the guys at Combined Tees Authority and Enjoy Tees Valley are going to help promote the event. So again, keeps that bigger, and as you say, there might be those opportunities for sort of transport from other parts of the Combined Tees Authority.
Yeah, but that's a good point. For example, there's two big cycling events or trade fairs that Enjoy Tees Valley are at in February internationally, that they're going to be talking about Tour de Yorkshire as well.
And have our leaflets by then.
Sorry, my question was pretty much the same as bike thing. It was just how we get involved in sort of like the fan zone and how businesses can get stalls, and do we need to apply really?
So email Tour de Yorkshire at redcar-cleveland.gov.uk, and then we've started taking inquiries over the last few months, and we're going to work out what space we've got, and then we'll come out to you. It's probably the easiest way. And if you want to have a conversation, you know, just get in touch with either myself or Leslie, and we can start seeing what's possible, I suppose. It's slightly difficult in terms of space of what we've got in terms of fan zone with the people that we need to put in the park and on the stray. But once we know that, we can work it out. Can we take one more question?
One more, but I was about to say,
just 2 seconds.
I think you're going to be hanging around at the end anyway.
Yeah, so we can answer questions, but I think some people need to go.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll take this last one.
Okay.
If you promote the area and we want to have all this vibrancy around, are you actually going to charge businesses for being in the fan zone?
So good point. We need to look at what the cost of the event is in terms of bringing it here. In terms of that fan zone area, it's Zetland Park. So it's not a huge size, and there's a lot of infrastructure got to go in there, including things like sponsors. So all the sponsors that sponsor Tour de Yorkshire will be in the fan zone area. So what we're also looking at in terms of things like the local food type of ideas that David talked about in terms of food concessions, that type of thing, about where we put that. And like for any things, we'll need to work out in terms of what the cost of that is to be part of it, just like any other event or festival. In terms of things like charities and promotion and things like that, we're also considering that alongside whoever the charity is for Tour de Yorkshire as well.
And as we said, there will be other opportunities, I'm sure, in the villages and towns. The route comes through to, you know, businesses being able to promote
Yeah, and we have
themselves.
got I think I said a Redcar Roadshow on the 7th 17th as well. It's on the council website. It's on the evening 6 till 8.
And then you find we're going to put the big screens.
We need to finish. I'll come and talk to you direct, and if anyone else wants to. But I appreciate there's another event on.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. We've got the Google Digital Garage event that tuned in, so we've got to head over to that event because that starts fairly shortly. I just want to thank Laura and David for coming. So I think round of applause. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic event for the borough, and we all have to work together to make the best of it. There can be some great opportunities like now, and also after the event that Laura was saying. It's not just a one-off event. I think there's going to be opportunities to really help showcase what we've got to offer, not just in Redcar, but the whole of Redcar and Cleveland as well. And it's great to hear that we've got businesses from outside Redcar, from Gisborough, from East Cleveland, because it's together, you know, we can really work to maximise what we can get out of this. I think just the final call to actions that Laura was saying, that you can email Tour de Yorkshire at redcar-cleveland.gov.uk. All the links that they've talked about in terms of signing up to the newsletter, the website, all the information, we will be posting that out to the business network, Facebook pages, Twitter pages as well. By all means, do sign up to them individually. Any information that I think that the team might be looking for, hopefully we can get that through onto our social pages, so you don't miss out if you do forget to sign up to one of the newsletters. If you've got any questions, you can also message us. If we don't know the answers, we'll just pass it on to the team or find you the best person to speak to as well. If you've got any ideas, definitely do get in touch with Laura and the team, because as I said, they do want to hear, they do want businesses to get involved and make the most of this opportunity. That's all for today. As I said, there will be an opportunity to network at the end, so do get to speak to your other peers, do get to speak to Laura and David and get some contact details. The next Redcar and Cleveland Business Network event is on Wednesday the 4th of March. Venue we're just working on at the moment, but the theme is business growth. There's going to be a lot of opportunity there. We've got some great speakers from the Clucking Pig, and also from Solid Blue Liquid. We talk about email and web posting as well. So thank you very much for today. Thank you to Laura and David, and I hope you have a great day and see you at Google.